Right. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us for this evening's talk. It's the 8th online lecture in the Historic Ridgeway Project series, funded by the North Wessex Downs National Landscape. You'll find all your cameras are off, other than those of the speakers, and the microphones are muted to prevent accidental interruption. There is an opportunity to ask questions in the chat function in the Teams top bar or the Q&A. And a selection of these will be put to the speakers at the end of the talk. The talk is being recorded and will in due course be added to the Ridgeway National Trail YouTube site. For this evening's talk, I'm very pleased to introduce the artist Anna Dillon and the aerial landscape photographer Hedley Thorne. I'm quite excited about this, so without further ado, over to them for their talk, Ridgeway Airscapes and Other Landscapes. Thank you both.
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much, Dan and Mary, for inviting us to do this 8th lecture. So we're going to take you through 30 slides, hopefully within 50 minutes. So it'll be quite a whistle-stop tour through all of our work. And we've started off with this slide today. Just move this.
Yep.
There you go. So before we introduce ourselves formally, we thought we'd start with this painting of mine, which is a representation of what we feel the Ridgeway shows to most people. It's a kind of almost like a spine across some chalk downland. And this actual landscape is the Oxdrove on Cranbourne Chase in Wiltshire. So it forms part of the Cranbourne Drovers Trail, which is part of what is the newly formed Great Chalk Way. And Hedley's going to tell us, this is his photograph that I've then painted as a reference. So that's kind of our relationship about how we work.
So this is kind of a special one for me because I actually own this picture and it's on my my lounge wall at home. So this was a lovely evening. We went down quite late, didn't we? And we arrived there. It was a very warm summer's evening, and we wanted to get sort of a picture of sort of a cool path going through the middle of the landscape. So we're actually we're on the bottom of the picture there. Obviously, I've excluded us and a couple, I think, that was there as well. But the path was a little bit muddy and dusty, and so I kind of brightened it up a little bit in the photo. But what I love about this picture is that you can feel the temperature changing from left to right. So while we were standing there on top, you could actually feel the warmth on the left-hand side of your body and the coolness on the right-hand side. And that's why I love it. And you've got the shadows there kind of spilling over the side of the scarp as well. So yeah.
And we used this painting for our Elevating Wiltshire exhibition at the Wiltshire Museum. For people who are familiar with this landscape, it's about a mile from Wyn Green, and the beech trees, the copse at the top is Wyn Green.
Yeah, that is.
So it's a very well-known walking route. So we're going to start off by introducing ourselves. Hedley, do you want to introduce how you work?
Yeah, so I do this as a hobby. My main job is I work at Heathrow Airport, but I kind of got a love for anything that flies, anything aviation related, and that kind of fed into starting to fly drones. And I sort of used to walk the Ridgeway and look at Instagram and the places that I was visiting, and obviously Anna's pictures always come up first on the Google search, and so I started sort of going back to those areas and photographing them. And then after buying my sons a drone, I kind of, they didn't really like it, but I got into it, and then I started taking aerial photography. And I think you might see it later on, but there was a picture of Whitnam Clump Stays Lock, and you asked if you could paint it, and I think from there on it was kind of, yeah, it worked. And that's who I am.
Yeah, I work full-time as a landscape artist. I've been doing it for about 16 years. I work mainly in oils from my studio at home, and I do work mainly from photographs. We've done 2 joint exhibitions together, which we titled the Wessex Airscapes. One was at Radley College in Oxfordshire, and that represented an exhibition of Berkshire and Oxfordshire landscapes. And then in 2023, we did the Elevating Wiltshire exhibition at Wiltshire Museum, focusing on Wiltshire, and that was the last exhibition we did.
Yes.
And the photo here is of us on, this is how we work together. So we go out walking. I've got my sketch pad in this photo. We've got the drone, and we were exploring a new landscape for the Wiltshire exhibition. So this was us trying to work out a new landscape and where we were going to get the best reference shots.
And so this is the real star of the show. So if you can see that, this is the drone. These are fun. They're quite expensive. And this particular one has got two cameras on the front. You've got a normal camera and a 162mm telephoto lens, and that's what was used for the shot on the screen at the moment. So you send the drone out probably 250, 300 meters away, and then you zoom back in, and you can probably just see my finger just kind of on the button there in the middle whilst we're pretending to point to something probably.
So with this painting of mine takes me right back to when I started painting, which was actually in 2008 in the economic recession, which was a bad time to start in a new career. I was formerly a graphic designer. But this is one of my early pieces called The Gap, and it's poignant for this talk because it was painted in 2009. It was a really big detailed piece. I was searching for these elevated views. And before I'd met Hedley, this was the best I could do, which was standing on top of Larden Chase, looking out over the villages of Streatley and Goring. And it's also the sort of middle section of the Ridgeway National Trail. So it's the centre point. But it's also fascinating because you've got the Chilterns National Landscape on one side, and then you're on the North Wessex Downs National Landscape on the other. So the Thames carves its way through this landscape. So I thought I'd include it, but equally, I've got a quote here from Paul Nash, who is an artist who I'm inspired by. And I'm not the only artist who is connected to wanting to understand what the landscape looks like from the air. So Paul Nash in the Second World War was placed with the Air Ministry as an official war artist. And this lovely letter that he wrote to a friend in Oxford at the time said that he had become an official artist given the freedom of the air, a new country, and he said, I hope I can make something memorable of it. And I thought that was a really, really great point, that the airscapes, that kind of that is a different country for us, and it sort of sums up our enthusiasm for what we do.
And I think with this area as well, the Goring Gap, it's interesting to go right back and see how the Goring Gap was formed, because I believe there used to be like a large kind of lake where South Oxfordshire is now. And the Thames used to go up towards the Wash, didn't it? And at one point it started, I believe, and again, Dan, you might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, I think it started sort of overspilling the Chilterns, and it eventually carved this gap and then headed on its current course out through London.
So this is the second piece of mine. So desperate was I to explore what these wonderful landscapes, these historic landscapes look like from the air, that I actually spoke to a good friend of mine, Dick Greenaway, who people might know as a writer and a historian from the Pang Valley, and he's got some brilliant books that you can get online. Him and his wife Jill had actually taken out a plane in the 70s and photographed the Uffington White Horse. And the photo was black and white, and he allowed me to use that photo as reference for this painting. So this is an earlier piece of mine, 2010, and I've made it up essentially from the black and white photo and embellished it. So this was really what this painting really got me infused with, what I could learn more from those aerial sort of views. And then I met Hedley in about 2018.
Yeah, 2018, yes.
And this photo of Hedley's knocks it out of the park for me in terms of its quality, but also it's, I'm going to let Hedley explain it, but for me as an artist, this photo is really, really special. So
thank you for that. Yeah, so this is the Uffington Horse inverted. This was in our 2021 show, I think, and some of the Oxfordshire Art Week shows we did. And it shows the horse before the reprofiling recently, headed up by David Miles, I think. So you can see over towards the left-hand side of the horse, so the head end is very thin, it's very spindly, and I think over years and years of scouring, the horse has kind of got slimmer and slimmer. I'm a bit jealous of it, to be honest with you, but it's got slimmer and slimmer, and recently that's been completely reprofiled. I don't think they're at the end of that either, are they? I think there's probably more to come on that.
They were doing it's Oxford Archaeology have been doing some of the reshaping of it last year and through this for a week this summer as well.
So you've got in the background there, you've got the manger, and it's a, I'm going to use that word, highly solifluctated landscape. Did I get that right? I think I did. And that's obviously caused by, I think it's movement of water under sheet ice during the melting of the Ice Age. And I've always wanted to get this view with the manger above the horse. There are a few caveats to flying around here. It is National Trust land. You can't take off or land on it. I also take with me one of my sons as a spotter to make sure there's absolutely nobody around when the drone is above and you launch from a footpath nearby. But it was a wonderful day. You can see the sort of the dappled light. If you imagine the light moving across the landscape there and the shadows moving, it was a really, really nice. I think that was morning. I think it was late morning. But yeah.
So our connections with the Ridgeway go back quite a lot as well. And I suppose in this talk, we're talking about airscapes and landscapes. We're talking about the Ridgeway, and we're talking about walking and our mutual interest in walking. So in 2009, I was now up and running as a landscape artist. And I decided with my husband Guy to walk the Ridgeway in different sections over a whole period of the year. So we started in January at Avebury and we finished on New Year's Eve of 2009 at Ivanhoe Beacon. And I produced a series of 24 paintings, which are all here, that shows the walk and the seasons. So each season, it was really special to do that walk. And I'd never walked the Ridgeway. My father and my uncle had walked it, and they had done a section from Avebury to Goring or to Streatley. So this was me doing the whole national trail, and it really set the scene for my sort of career. And the exhibition was at a lovely gallery, Art at Goring, in Goring, and no longer there, unfortunately. But I just wanted to thank Adam and Maya Johnson for taking on my work at the start of my career and giving me the confidence to carry on as a landscape artist.
I think this slide is a good indication of the difference in colours and textures along the Ridgeway. So you've got obviously the more wooded eastern end, and then you've got the sort of the more open end around sort of from Lowbury Hill going all the way to Avebury. You've got this beautiful open sort of rippled landscape. It's really nice.
After that exhibition, my father, Patrick Dillon, and Eric Jones, who's no longer with us, they wrote this book, The Middle Ridgeway, and I illustrated the book, which was launched in 2016 at the White Horse Bookshop in Marlborough. So it was a really nice project to be part of. This is us signing the books. The print run was a small print run. I don't think it's much. It's not in print anymore, but you can get some copies. There are a few in existence. So it was just a really great project to be part of. And if I should think lots of people have read parts of it, but we're going to quote a section of the book in the next slide. So this sums up the experience of walking the Ridgeway. So I'll read it for you. Many people before us have trodden the Ridgeway path and laboured in the adjacent landscape. Their artefacts are part of our cultural heritage, their words part of our literary heritage, and their individual endeavours, though largely forgotten, leave their collective imprint as cultural ecology. And the painting here is what was used on the cover of the book, and this is a view looking from the Compton Downs towards Lowbury Hill. I live in the village of Aston Tyrrell, and we're going to, in the next few slides, talk about some of the local landscapes. But this to me was really encompassing that feeling of walking the Ridgeway in this part of the world.
And I think great minds think alike, don't they? Because if we go to this next slide, excuse me, you've got a very similar view. In fact, it's exactly the same view looking at it. I took this without having seen that book or your picture before, from what must be the very same spot, except this is a drone shot, and again it's a telephoto lens. So in the background you can see kind of the dark trees of the Chiltern Hills to the left, and then to the right the high point is Lowbury Hill as viewed from the west. The other thing about this picture is one of those where there's kind of different layers of history in it. So leaving aside any sort of Saxon battles or anything, what you've got here is you would have had a Roman enclosure on the hill at the top, and just down middle left you can see the bridge going over the Didcot Newbury Southampton Railway, which obviously is no longer there. And so you would have historically, not that long ago, seen the steam of trains coming along here. Oh yeah, 1966. Yes, thank you. So you've got a 5,500-year-old track crossing a railway that's 140 years old. So yeah, and yeah, it's the track that's still there.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you can this part of the walk, when you walk the Ridgeway, is one of the quieter parts, I think, of that whole Ridgeway Trail, because you've left the nearest settlement at this point is East Ilsley, and you're heading towards Streatley. So to imagine this railway cutting through this area changed that landscape incredibly. And not far off this picture, you're near the old Churn rifle range as well, which was used up into the 1980s. So this is a much more tranquil landscape now than it was. So yeah, and the railway itself is really a kind of wildlife corridor now.
And I think the railway was used for transporting troops there as well, isn't it?
Yeah, at Churn Halt.
At Churn Halt, which is just off to the left of this picture here. Yeah. Fascinating area, and if you want a little bit of peace, quiet, solitude, this is definitely a place to go, isn't it?
So we couldn't talk about the Ridgeway and some aerial landscapes without going through some of Hedley's photos, and this one I chose for this presentation because it sums up. We've all walked, well, many people have walked this view, but the minute you put a drone up, you get a totally different perspective. So what was the
yeah, so this is what I call the step ladder view. A lot of people, when they buy drones, send them shooting up to 400 feet, and what you end up with is the whole elevation of the landscape being lost. And I don't just mean elevation as in hills, I mean also the beach clumps as well. If you're looking down on them, all the pictures kind of look the same from that height. Similarly, you don't want obviously the drone at head height, because then you don't get the sort of unique perspective that you have just about in this picture. And so I called it the step ladder view. You also, from a lower height like this from the drone, you pick up far more detail. I think a lot of pictures nowadays are kind of viewed on these tiny little mobile phones, and if you have the camera too far back, people miss the details. So this is why I like this type of shot. It's just high enough to be slightly unusual and catch the eye, but without looking like it's from an aircraft window or something.
It's the two beach clumps are above Hackpen Horse as you're approaching Avebury. So from the villages below, they are a massive landmark, these two beach clumps. You've just you're about, what, 2 miles from Barbury Castle as you walk towards Avebury, aren't you?
So Barbury Castle is just under 2 miles behind where this picture was taken. I don't know why the beach clumps are there. I heard on Hidden Wiltshire that it may have been just sort of not a status symbol, but a landowner, leaving their mark so that people would see. I don't know, but they always seem to be on the actual crest of the hill. So.
And also they're an iconic feature of Wiltshire landscapes, these beach clumps, which you don't see so much outside of Wiltshire anymore, but you did if you look at old black and white photos.
Very good place to shelter in the summer when it's hot as well.
So we both live, I'm in Assenfield, South Oxfordshire, used to be Berkshire. You're in Didcot, Hedley, and we are very lucky to have this lovely hill fort, Blueburton Hill Fort, that is sandwiched, well, it sits on two parish lines of Bluebury and Aston Upthorpe. In fact, the parish boundary goes right through the hill. I've walked this landscape since I was a child, having grown up in this area, and I think this is one of Hedley's best photos because it just shows a well-loved landscape on a completely different perspective. And you're facing south on this photo, aren't you?
Yeah.
So you've got the Berkshire Downs behind you,
yeah,
which are the hills behind to orientate yourself.
So over to the right in the background, you've got Churn Hill, which is where I go most evenings. I love it up there. I actually cheated with this picture. So, and I think you've got a copy of it here. It's actually 4 pictures stitched together. So I wanted to get the entire landscape in, and just occasionally you can't do that. And so this is literally 4 pictures that are stitched together like that, because the sky then becomes a little bit more angular and detailed, and you get sort of the darker blues as well. You get more scope for darkening the blues. And I loved it at this point because the hill fort itself was in sun, but there were bits of shade here and there, so you don't completely bleach out all of the light and the colours. So it was a lovely day, that, and I love the sort of when I was there, it was springtime, so all of the fields were kind of that minty green before they start going brown. So it's really nice. Also,
the hill fort has had a history of being owned by many different people. So this section you see with the earthworks that's a scheduled monument. The rest of the hill to the left, if you look at old aerial photographs, I think there's one if you actually go on Wikipedia and Google Blueburn Hill. I don't know who owns the photo, but you can see that the whole hill, prior to sort of having different ownerships, was a lot more prominent. And it's like lots of hill forts, when you've got lots of people who've owned the land, it's changed. But this part here is still public access. There's a footpath, so we can get access to it.
Yeah,
get great views.
So the main part of the hill fort you can see in the centre of the picture is open access land, and I think the locals actually like people visiting. They seem to encourage people to go there, and you sometimes get donkeys on top, the doodle donks I think they're called, which is always good. But it's a wonderful place to go. It's easy to get to, and it's a really nice place for the views. It's lovely.
So this was a painting of mine of Blueburton. It's not quite the same perspective. It's taken from the round stripes in the foreground are the hill fort, looking over towards the Berkshire Downs, taken using one of Hedley's other photos. And I do tend to have a style that is quite bold. I do use very strong colours. I've always enjoyed that, and I do exaggerate the colours. But to be able to paint this, this painting was used in our first Wessex Airscapes show at Radley College. It was a real thrill, and I'm really grateful to Hedley. I haven't really said this often enough to him to allow me to use his photographs as much as he can. So I think it's just, if I hadn't have been able to meet Hedley, I would have actually seriously tried to consider getting some pilot's license so I could get up in the air myself and take pictures. And that's never
nobody would be safe. Nobody would be safe. So yeah, and again, this is that time of year, isn't it? It's the transition. So this is kind of late June, early July. Excuse me, 2021. 2021. So you've got some of the land still, the crops are still green in places, but in other places. And these lynchets around the side, they're not actually part of the hill fort, are they? They're agricultural, I believe.
There's different layers, different kinds. This hill fort, I think it's had multiple uses over the time, and there was excavations, so they've got found, I think it was between 10 and 22 bodies, skeletons.
Okay.
So there you go.
I might not go back there then. Right. That's a lovely picture. Really, really nice. And I love the different the transition between the colours and everything. It's really nice.
So this is a painting of mine from 2014, and I got reference for the photos for this painting by going to the White Horse show, the summer show, where they were offering helicopter rides for £35 for a five-minute ride up in the sky. So I went up with a friend and took a lot of photographs, one of which became the reference for this particular painting, which very kindly became the cover of the wonderful book, The Land of the White Horse. And I've got a copy of it here by David Miles. And it's a beautiful book if people haven't read it. David explores all areas and aspects of the White Horse, including some of the myths and legends around it. There's chapter 10, which is about the Sun Horse, which is my personal favourite. If you haven't read the book, I thoroughly recommend it as a window into exploring this wonderful landscape, which isn't just the White Horse, of course. So yeah, that was really special to have my work on the cover of his book.
That's good. It looks really good.
So following on the book theme, this was a book that was published last year by Penguin for Clover Stroud, she writes memoirs, and this is the fourth memoir of hers. She has lived in the area for a long time. She's now moved to America. But this book with the title, The Giant on the Skyline, was a really interesting commission. So it's the first time that I was commissioned to paint a book cover. And a lot of book covers are done digitally, but this was an oil painting that I produced. I had about 3 or 4 weeks to do it in. And I am very grateful again for Hedley's reference photos that enabled me to do this.
I didn't provide the whole scene though, did I?
No.
I didn't. So this bit in the middle you got from my photo, but I think I had to sort of take other pictures as well to try and get because the lens isn't that wide. Yeah, it's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. It's a great concept as well.
I had to make up parts, and I'm not the best artist for making up work, but if you look closely at what would be the manger or the natural occurring folds of the chalk land, there's a figure in there which represents the giant on the skyline. So that's the key part of this. And yeah, no, it was really special to do. So it's a nice point of using aerial references to be recognised as the cover of the book. And this was another book that was published last year by Guy Shrubshall. People might be familiar with his book, The Lost Rainforests of Britain. He's incredibly well, he researches his books phenomenally well. This is a punchy book, and he wanted to choose a cover or a painting for it. So this image of mine, Sunny Days, which was painted in 2019, was chosen for the cover of the book. And this is the painting that Hedley referenced. It was the first time I'd used his photography to create a painting.
It was a really strange feeling because this was taken on a very, by today's standards, a very primitive drone. It had a very simple camera on it, far less than you get even on mobile phones nowadays. And it was a lovely evening. I had to get permission to take this from a couple who were on a boat as well. But then to actually see it on your easel in the studio was absolutely fantastic to see something in your style. You know, it's lovely.
And it's Whittenham Clumps.
It's Whittenham
Clumps. A local famous landscape. Yeah. You can make it out. I mean, it doesn't leap out, but this is the River Thames carving its way around the side of the clumps, the two clumps, and the big yellow hill in the top part is Round Hill, and then Castle Hill's the one behind it.
What intrigues me, and I was talking to both, I think Dan and David Miles about this, is the area of land on the left, because you've got the River Thames going to the south and then branching off to the east, and you've got the River Tame coming down to make a U shape of rivers, and they're closed off at the top by Dyke Hills, aren't they? And if they were filled with water, that would then, or if they're just defended, that would then potentially make that an island settlement on the left with, you know, potential, I don't know, I'm making it up now, but trade to London, you know. But it's an intriguing area. There's so much going on there. And of course, Whittenham Clumps himself, the reverse view of this is absolutely fantastic, looking up the Thames to the north with the river of life that the Earth Trust have created up there as well.
Yeah, the Whittenham Clumps, managed by the Earth Trust, wonderful place to visit at any time of day or evening. Famous for people enjoying watching when the Didcot Power Station was demolished. Can't remember what year that was, but it gives you great viewpoints. And the backdrop of this painting is the Chilterns, which is lovely. So this, we're still on the books, and this is this painting was used as the cover for our Elevating Wiltshire book, which was the catalogue written by Patrick Dillon. All three of us were part of the exhibition of Elevating Wiltshire, and I'd always wanted to paint this view. And the reason is I'd gone to school in Avebury in the mid-70s, and for me this landscape represents lots of childhood memories. I lived in Winterbourne Monkton, went to school on the bus, which was a mile into Avebury, and for me that childhood memory is of a village first and a community, and then the henge and the stones. And so this was so important for me. It was one of these views I've always wanted to paint, and thanks to Hedley that I was able to do that.
Which I think is probably, yeah, the next slide. It's not actually the same picture, it's a similar view. This one, I wanted to align the road vertically in the middle of the picture, and off to the right towards the top you've also got Silbury Hill, and behind it, I could get this right, that's Tan Hill, not Milk Hill. So you've got the Pewsey Downs in the background, which formed kind of the centerpiece of our exhibition. But you've got here the kind of the late afternoon, early evening light, which really brings the earthworks out. For a lot of the day from the air, Avebury kind of looks a little bit flat. You've got the colours, but it's flat. But it's only in the evening that you get the large banks coming through. And of course, they would have been a lot deeper than that, I guess, you know, thousands of years ago.
It goes to show with these photos the scale of Avebury. You can't really get that from walking around, but the scale of it, and also, of course, all of the other landscape, and it's lovely. You've got the setting of Silbury Hill there,
and it's kind of offset in what I call the 3/4 view. So you're looking down and across. It's the only way you can get the entire henge into a shot from a drone without breaking the law, I guess, and going too high. But it's lovely, and often you get kind of crop circles off in the field to the left as well. But yeah.
In the Elevating Wiltshire exhibition, I put this one in. It's using a little bit of artistic license, and it's representing Silbury Hill. And what I've done is I've taken out all of the trees. I've kept the road in, but I've stripped back the landscape to focus on Silbury Hill, man-made hill that it is, and its setting in the landscape. It was taken, the reference photo of this was taken late summer, wasn't it? So slightly sort of burnt, dried landscape. And I've exaggerated the colours and shapes and forms, which is the kind of style I work with. But it was just another really exciting landscape to finally get to paint. And I think I was with you when you took the photos for this.
We were actually on the Ridgeway. So although this looks like it's taken just above Silbury Hill, it's that zoom camera again. So when you zoom it in, it means the hills behind, which are the Churhill Downs, I believe, they become closer to the subject. And that's what we got there. So it's actually, the drone was pretty much near the sanctuary over the end of the Ridgeway. And it's good because it excludes everything else around it as well.
And Hedley, just at this point, did you want to talk about all of the you've done all your aviation certificates and
Oh yeah, so again, going back to flying drones, these are large devices. Oh, this one is anyway. And it's kind of like a heavy flying hedge trimmer. So you do need certification to fly these things. If you want to get into aerial photography, you can start off with like a mini drone. They call them the DJI mini drones. And for that, it's a really easy online test. You've got 2 exams to do. You can do it in 45 minutes. It costs about £10 a year at the moment. And that will be enough to get you legally flying a drone with a camera on it. When you go up to a larger drone like this, you have more restrictions. So you can't fly within a certain distance of buildings, houses, roads, people. And for that, you then go on to do an advanced certificate, which is the A2 certificate of competency. And that's the one I've got for this. If you then want to take it up another level and you want to fly a huge drone over central London or something, then you've got the GVC courses. But that's a lot of learning, and I'm not capable enough for that. But certainly it is easy to get into. I think a lot of people find it intimidating because of the rules and regulations, but they're quite easy to summarize. I won't do it now, but yeah, if anyone needs any assistance, just let me know and I can help them.
And what you say famously all the time is people love the output of a drone, but they're not so keen on the actual drone out in the open, which is fair enough.
So people do love aerial photography. It is quite normalized now. It hasn't quite got the unique aspect that it used to have, but people love aerial photography, but generally people don't like drones flying overhead. They are noisy looking military style things. So there is I think, as a drone pilot, you've got a duty of care towards flying the best you can to not disturb people. Yeah.
Right. So with these, this is a really good slide to show how aerial photography can present a period of history in so many different ways. So over to you, Hedley.
Yeah, so obviously we've got 4 Ridgeway hill forts here. And top left, as you can see on the screen now, we have Lidington Camp. So this again featured in our 2023 exhibition. I got it right this time. 2023 exhibition. And it was a wonderful morning. It was a very frosty winter's morning, and I really wanted to get a picture where half of the frost had gone. So you use different apps on your phone to work out the position of the sun. Obviously, you use like the Met Office to find out the temperature. And I managed to get to Lidington and run up to the top, which is for me is a big feat. Just before all of the frost you can see on the left of the picture there melted away. To the right, similar, we have Uffington Castle. Again, this is actually a winter shot. It doesn't look like it, but it's the moment of sunrise. So when you take a picture like this, you've got to get up to the Ridgeway, get to the Ridgeway, get all your equipment sorted well before any kind of light. So you're doing everything in the dark, but it's a wonderful place to be. Anywhere on top of a hill fort or a mountain at sunrise is really, really special. Bottom left, we have Segsbury Camp. So this is a much larger hill fort than the ones above. And this sort of, again, Dan, you'd know far more than us, but this kind of opens up the question, as it's next to the Ridgeway, which would have been a major agricultural trading route, I'd imagine. The purpose of this place, I don't know. Would it be a place for, protecting and trading animals? I don't know. Can't quite fathom it out, but aesthetically, it's a beautiful place to be. It's a lovely, nice walk around, and in the background, just out of shot, you've got the Devil's Punch Bowl or Pro Hole Bottom, whatever they call it, and that's a beautiful place also to walk around as well. And then finally, there we go. It's hidden there. We have Barbury Castle. Now, this is a place. This is quite a popular place to visit, and you've got the modern day Ridgeway National Trail going through it, and you can just make out the beach clumps in the background that we saw earlier. I think originally the Ridgeway probably, or series of paths, veered more to the north and connected with Liddington, but it's a wonderful place to visit, and it's far, far larger, especially the earthworks, far larger than an aerial shot suggests. Personally, I prefer Liddington. It's a quiet place, and it's a little bit more difficult to get to, but Barbury is a wonderful place if you want to go somewhere with a family.
So this is one of my favourite shots of Hedley's, and it's favourite for lots of different reasons, but mostly it's in my lovely parish of Aston-upthorpe, and it's Lowbury Hill. It's half a mile from the Ridgeway Trail as you go between East Dilsey and Streatley. His photograph, which he's going to explain it all. It captures what you can see is the square. It's a Roman enclosure, and then you've got the Anglo-Saxon burial mound below. So Hedley, over to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, this again is another frosty winter's. I think it was an evening. Yeah, evening because of the southwest, and this is a classic example where aerial photography comes alive when the sun is low down. So if I was to put the drone up during the middle of the day, you probably wouldn't see much here. But as the sun goes down, you can see the outline of the Roman enclosure, which I think Summer said was probably flint lined. Sorry if I'm wrong there, Summer. And you've also got a barrow in the foreground where Lowbury Man was excavated. You've got another barrow off to the right, which is the north. And then we went there in the summer, didn't we? We went on summer of 2022, the exceptionally hot summer, where the ground was parched, and we went just as the sun was going down, and we got an extremely clear aerial view of the whole site. And I think we may have uncovered a couple of ring ditches as well, which hopefully one day Summer will be able to tell us more about. But it's a lovely place. It should be stressed here that this is private land. You can't go on it. I had the privilege of flying over it, and I think we've had permission before to go there as well.
It used to be accessible with the permission of the landowner, but I think public access is closed at the moment. We've worked with Summer Penn, knee courts. She was married a couple of years ago, and she was appointed to work on a PhD in association with Cranfield University, Reading University, and the Oxford Museum Service, in association with the female burial that was found within the enclosure of Lowbury Hill. And Lowbury Man is on display at the Oxford Museum, but nothing was, I think Lowbury Lady, as she's nicknamed by the team, probably had a brief display in Reading University in the 1920s, but then was put in a box and hidden. So I believe that Summer's PhD is nearly finished. So we're looking forward to the results of what she's discovered about the broader context of how this landscape's been used from the heritage point of view.
And we did, I've got to get this right, we did resistivity testing there, didn't we? And, oh, you've written it down. So geophysical, okay, we had geophys and resistivity testing there. Yeah.
Yeah, we got invited last winter with Summer and Peter Masters from Cranfield University. We volunteered to help them, and it was a very, very windy day, to do some of the geophys work with them, of which the results will come out in her PhD.
Yeah. Okay, 7 Barrows. So this is an exquisite site near Lambourne. I wanted to capture. There's one of the barrows. I think the highest one has got the I think it's a beech tree, or is it a willow on top? And I wanted to capture the shadow of that. Someone I know went there the other day because currently there are flowers and everything, and took some wonderful ground level pictures there as well. I think there's actually over 30 barrows in the region, the area. Again, I might be wrong on that, but within the actual the public land that you can go to, I think there's actually 9, thinking about it. So I don't know why it's called 7 Barrows, but it's a wonderful place to visit, and it's just below the Ridgeway.
The next 2 photographs are stunning, of Wayland Smithy, both taken in the winter. So Hedley, talk through these 2.
Yeah, so I wanted to get a picture of Wayland Smithy. The first one here, I wanted to get the sun burning through the trees at sunset. There was nobody there, it was just me, and the trees were bare, and the ground was lovely, and I think it was quite crunchy with the leaves on it. But I wanted to get the shadows kind of almost emanating from a central point there. This is the only way you can do this photo with the barrow actually on view, because it's the only bit where there's a gap in the trees. And
this one, so when I saw this photograph, it's a work of art, but it actually reminds me of baking. When anyone is sprinkling icing sugar over their freshly baked chocolate brownies with a sieve and gently dusting their cake or their masterpiece with icing sugar. But it's Wayland Smithy, and it's absolutely stunning.
Yeah, so this was after quite a hard frost, and I think most of it had gone. But I think I called this photo the wreath, because it looks like a wreath you hang on your door. And you've got the main entrance stones to the left there as well.
When we are walking, which we do a lot, and we're off with a drone, sometimes we come across what we've called hidden landscapes. That's not to say that they're not recorded or documented, but this was an intriguing photo. It's taken from the eastern section of Dean's Bottom, between Molesford, Unhill Woods, and my parish of Aston Upthorpe. And on the ordnance map, it is marked as medieval field systems. We actually have permission. This is private land, but the landowner we knew, so we were able to walk over this hill and look at some of the intriguing earthworks and field systems of this hill, and it made a great photo.
Thank you. There's a lot going on in this picture and the wider area. I think it was probably Roman agriculture. I'm not sure, but you've also got Grimm's Ditch going through this picture somewhere. I don't think we quite worked out where it is, but yeah, we're a bit intrigued by Grimm's Ditch. And again, we don't know whether this hill hosted anything. It could have been a Roman building or something. You called it Hedley Hill, didn't you? Because it hasn't got a name. Once upon a time, yeah. We'll move on.
I think it's called Ashdown Hill.
You sport it, yeah, but that's fine. So
we've hinted at Grimm's Ditch, and this is a map. You won't all be able to see it that clearly, but it's a map. It's an ordnance map from 1914. I hosted a First World War exhibition to commemorate the end of the centenary of the First World War in this village, and we got access to the 1914 map of the whole of the parish. So if you look to the right-hand side, sort of halfway up, you'll see the words Aston Upthorpe Downs. And then if you take your eye to the left, there is a kind of continuous line marked as Grimm's Ditch. So that's a really intriguing ditch for us, which we're going to come on to talk about. Because for me, it's always been intriguing, because the schedule, it is through the Aston Upthorpes, it's a scheduled monument. So it's actually very well preserved in parts. If you go through the valley, Juniper Valley, which is open access, you can see it. And I've always been intrigued by what it is. So we're going to go on to the next slide to talk about how we've been exploring this ditch over the years.
So you can see the ditch. If you look at we'll start with the right-hand shot. This is a drover's track going from the Springline village of Blueberry up towards, I think it connects with the Ridgeway. And you can see the ditch quite clearly bisecting this track. And with the drone in that position, you could see the ditch for absolutely miles, and it does track perfectly what the map shows. On the left, it's a little bit harder to pick out, but if you look at the sort of diagonal line up towards the top left of the picture, this is the ditch as it kind of plunges down into Juniper Valley. And yeah, it's a lovely place, this. I think it then kind of went diagonally to the middle and then off to the right. I think that this is some sort of significance here because it's a marked change in direction for the ditch at a point where a very old looking track meets it or bisects it. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but you can see it's all below where the dew pond is in the middle. It's there.
And these were taken during the drought of 2022, a bit like now where, you know, archaeologists I know like to look at some of the parch marks in the landscape using Google aerial maps. But for this, it was really interesting to, when we took the drone up, we didn't realize that we'd see the line or the route of the ditch so clearly as we did. So it encouraged us, inspired us to think about doing an exhibition. So this is our next project, and we're going to call it A Ditch in Time. And it's going to be an exhibition of paintings, photos, and aerial footage exploring this ditch, which is a continuous linear ditch across this part of the Berkshire Downs. We don't have a date or time or place. We haven't confirmed that, but we're introducing it here. And this photo, I wasn't with you when you took this photo. No. So explain where this is on the Berkshire Downs.
So this is Bury Down, or Gore Hill, I think it might be called, looking westwards towards Scutchermott. And to the left is the Ridgeway, just out of shot, all those, you can see the green line. The actual ditch here is not the track you see in the middle, but just to the left of it, where you can see this line of bushes, that is Grimm's Ditch. And the strange thing is, in places, it's actually kind of inverted. I don't know if it's been filled, but it kind of follows the bottom of the scarp of the hill from there all the way to, now it's before Wantage. So again, Dan, you might be able to correct me on this, but I think it's somewhere like East Ginge or West Ginge. And that's where it seems to disappear.
Yeah, I've got the field notes from Steve Ford, who did some excavations in 1983. So he did field work and excavations on the Berkshire Grimm's Ditch, and it has a contribution from Mark Bowden. And it's interesting because there's a map of this, which you can get online, showing the kind of continuous nature of the ditch as it goes to the Ginge Down and beyond. And they even they cut a trench in the Assenupthorpe section. And although that was 1983, they dated it at late Bronze Age, early Iron Age. And then it's been reviewed recently in, I've got a journal here, for the Offa's Dyke Journal of 2020, with Tim Mallin, who did a piece in 2007. So I was reading that, which was really interesting as well. This is a painting that I finished this year, and Hedley. This represents the section of the Grimm's Ditch along the Ridgeway from Wallingford and Crowmarsh up to Nuffield, and this is the actual Ridgeway Trail. And I know that Dan's been doing some work with volunteers to look at the condition of this section, because it's the only section where the actual National Trail crosses a scheduled, well, it goes along the top of the scheduled monument. When you get further up to the top of Nuffield, the ditch becomes a lot bigger, and you've got these wonderful beech trees. So I've always wanted to paint this section, and so I finally finished this painting this year, and this will go into our exhibition when we do it.
It's a lovely section of the Ridgeway. It's very, because it's quite steep as well, isn't it, getting up there? So it's a little bit slippery in the winter time, but it's a wonderful place to go, and it's completely shaded by trees all the way up. It's lovely.
Well, we're not doing too badly for time, so we just got 2 more slides to go, and then we're done. So we put this slide in because between us, we do a lot of volunteering on all sorts of different areas. I had mentioned that I was previously a graphic designer, so it was really nice to design the Cranbourne Drovers Way, Waymark, and also the Sarsons Way, which I did a little walk about. Last 2 weeks ago, I walked the section from the Sanctuary down to Alton Barnes, following the waymarks of the Sarson Way and realizing that I'd done the design for that. So that was really nice. I designed the Friends of the Ridgeway logo, and we got involved with the Ridgeway 50 logo. And Hedley, you do quite a lot of volunteer work on all your different outlets, including podcasts.
Yeah, so some of you may have heard of Paul Whitewick, YouTuber. He, myself, and now Kate Smith do a podcast about Wessex. So essentially about the south of England, about everything to do with its history, transportation, landscapes. So that's called Wessex Ways. The other things that I think people might find useful. So if you're on Facebook, I run two groups. I run the UK Hill Forts group. Admittedly, it's mostly pictures, I think, and a lot of aerial pictures in there of hill forts, but a lot of interesting information as well. We put some videos in there as well. And also the Ridgeway and Ancient Tracks of Britain, which is kind of an open group. I think we've got about 170,000 people in that now. So it's a very busy group. It's also a good place to go where we reshare some of the information given out by the Ridgeway National Trail and Friends of the Ridgeway as well. So it's a lovely place to go. The other thing I think is the Swire's Prize. It's an annual prize which includes art. So you're looking at painting, you're looking at, I think it's, you've got sculpture and photography in there. Really worth looking at if you are a photographer or an artist in any way. There'd be more information on that as it comes out springtime, I believe. And yeah, I think you and I have judged in that, haven't we?
Yeah, and it's a really good opportunity to see all the different works and how people are so inspired so differently. There was a book I released last year as well called Downland, which you can get if you go to the Two Rivers Press. It's a collection of paintings and poems by Jonathan Davidson. It's designed to represent, it's actually got a map of the Ridgeway in the back, and we've basically found, we've given you all of the grid references for where all the paintings in the book feature. So the aim is that you can walk bits of the Ridgeway with that book and read the poems, which is a really nice project to have been part of.
Yep.
Great. So that brings us to the end of our slideshow. We just wanted to end with this painting because we thought it was a opportune moment to celebrate the victory last night in the final for the Lionesses. And this is a painting I've done titled Whipsnade. It's the view you get at the end of the beginning of the National Trail at Ivanhoe Beacon, and looking out towards the chalk lion of Whipsnade. It's the only time I've painted a lion, but it's a chalk piece, and I believe it's being re-chalked because it's not quite as white as it used to be.
No.
But we thought that was a fitting way to end our talk.
Yes.
So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Over to Dan.
Well, thank you both so very much. It was really, really interesting, and nice slide to end on. As you say, I'm not unashamed to say that I cried after the penalties. But thank you. It was really interesting. I mean, so much of people's experience of the Ridgeway is about feeling, and I think we often find it difficult to articulate that. But I think you both capture that so well in your work. So thank you very much. I think we're waiting for questions, but while we do, it's really interesting here, and I love the title of the talk's going to be, sorry, the exhibition's going to be A Ditch in Time. That's brilliant. But we've done some work on the ditch and the history of it and current thought and theories. It'd be really nice to talk that through with you at some point, if that's okay. It's 9-mile long thumping great earthwork from the late Bronze Age, early Iron Age. Sorry, the Laybury Hill is my favourite site in the whole of southern England. It's amazing. I love it, and the drone image there is just absolutely fantastic. Do you know when the results of Summer's work and the University of Reading work is likely to be published and released to the public?
Well, we think that she should have finished it almost around now, because when we were doing the surveying with her last winter, she was on her last year, but we haven't been in contact with her for about 11 months now, have we? So she's probably busy writing up her final notes on it, I would imagine.
Yeah. So
it should be due to be published soon, and I'm sure that she will do some public-facing talks, like she did at the beginning, to promote what her findings are.
Basically, thank you very much. So there's all sorts of really nice comments about your talk. I'm just looking for some questions, but well, again, while we're waiting, if you wouldn't mind if I ask another, oh, I've lost it. The the picture, the slide you put up of the hill forts, the drone pictures, the four, really, it's great. It really shows the monumentality, if that's a word, of hill forts in the wider landscape. But Hedley, you took an amazing one of the almost ploughed out Rams Hill, and it's the only image I've ever seen where you can really clearly see it as a really impressive earthwork. And I just wondered if time of day and season were all that were involved there, or whether you'd had to process that or manipulate the image tool.
No, not at all. I mean, so that was a winter shot. That was it was completely speculative because I knew where it was, and I kind of wondered if anyone had been along there with a drone, knowing that's there. And I think that combination probably hadn't come up. And so I sent it up, and it just popped out. It just, it just literally, you could see, well, as you say, you could see the round part where the hill fort is. Now, it's not a particularly good picture. It's not artistic in any way, but it does, as you say, show even after centuries of ploughing, you can still see where the hill fort was. And I mean, you might be able to tell me on this, but I'm intrigued by why we have Rams Hill, Uffington, and there was another one, wasn't there, just to the west? I'm intrigued. We went to, I think I was talking about a lecture at Oxford University, and one of the speakers there said that they suspected the Ridgeway may have joined the three of them, or rather they were probably built either side of the Ridgeway, which was earlier. So I'm struggling to work out why there would be three hill forts so close together, possibly from similar eras. I don't know.
It is a tricky one. I mean, we talk about the Iron Age like it's a short space of time, but it's it's hundreds and hundreds of years. So whether they're all occupied at the same time, or whether one succeeds the other, is either the Ridgeway moves about, or the ostentation is more about being seen from the valley or being seen from the high chalk. I don't think we really know. And I've asked Historic England's in-house team to have a look at these, excuse me, to have a look at that, because I, like you, I've always been fascinated by not the proximity of not just two, but three really quite big ones. But I'll let you know should anyone.
I'll try and get a newer picture for you. I think you need to be there when the ground has been freshly ploughed. I think that's what I think. So I'll be later this year. I'll head back out there and see if I can get the drone back up.
Oh, thank you. You're greatly appreciated. And we think these things are amazing features in the landscape now, but I think they're all mentioned in the Saxon charters of 1,000 years ago as big features in the landscape. So it's so it's really interesting. But sorry, I'll just quickly check. Mary, I don't suppose you managed to pick out any questions?
There aren't any questions. There's just lots of compliments to Hedley and Anna for a wonderful talk. Thank you very much. I've just posted a link to our YouTube channel where we have our past lectures have been uploaded, and where we'll be uploading this lecture to be included there shortly, and a link to our final lecture for the summer, which is this Thursday. There's a link there, and it's online, and the details are there. If you're interested, please do join us. That's David Kenny on Thursday.
Could I just end then with a nice quote? I'm reading a book by Gail Simmons. It's called Between the Chalk and the Sea. It's a lovely book about her walking. It sums up what we've said today. Just a paragraph. Walking unlocks the landscape like no other form of movement, priming your senses. You are acutely aware of the sights, sounds, smells, textures of the landscape, yoking you to the earth beneath your feet and the sky above your head. Rather than being separated from the natural world, you fuse with it. When walking, you and the landscape become one. And that sums up my experience of walking. So there you go.
Great.
Thank you.
I've just actually seen a question very quick.
One question. I don't have the answer. Which copses
Stella. Yeah. So going back to which copses can be visited, if you go to, let me get this right. If you go to Hackman Hill on the Ridgeway, and there's a car park there, and you walk back eastwards along the Ridgeway, there is one copse. Now, I've got to be careful here. If there's a gate there, you're allowed to walk in it, I believe. If there isn't a gate there, don't climb over the fence. I've been in there, but I don't know if I was trespassing or not, to be honest with you. But I think there's a gate there.
Right. Well, thank you both very much for a really interesting talk. It's really lovely to understand how you come and choose these images and these beautiful places. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thank you.
And thank you everyone who's attended. It's great. Thank you. Okay. Good night.